All right, so imagine this for a second. What if the AI on your computer wasn't just, a boring old text box? What if it was a person you could actually talk to, someone who could see you and react to you, all in real time? Well, that's not sci-fi anymore. Today, we're going to dive into the story of a company that's building exactly that.
And it all kicks off with this just incredibly bold statement from the founders of a company called Tavus. They just come right out and say it. We build AI humans. And look, that's not just a marketing line, it's literally their mission. We're talking about a massive leap beyond the chatbots and voice assistants we all know.
Okay, so let's get into it. What in the world is an AI human? I know, it sounds like something straight out of a movie, but believe it or not, it's happening right now. But what does that actually look like in practice? Right? It's one thing to talk about it, but it's another thing to see what it can really do. So let's break down the capabilities. So the first thing to get is this is not just a pre-recorded video. We're talking about an AI that can video call you, audio call you, or even text you. And here's the crazy part. It can actually see your facial expressions and react to them instantly. The whole point is to make it feel less like a clunky machine and more like like a friend or a helpful coworker, someone who can actually go and do things for you without being told every single step. They have a word for that. They call it being agentic. So to really understand how they pulled this off, we've got to rewind a bit because their story actually starts way before this whole generative AI boom we're seeing today.
Yep, the founders have this great line. They say, we were doing AI before it was the cool thing to do. And it's true. If you go back to 2020, 2021, when they were in Y Combinator, the tech they were working on was completely different. Their first product was based on this technique called lip sync infill. Okay, so picture this. You record one video where you say, hey, Diana. Then the AI could automatically create thousands of new versions, perfectly lip syncing different names like, hey, Alex, or hey, Sarah. It was a super clever tool for things like personalized sales videos, but you can probably see the problem. It was pretty limited in what it could do. And that very limitation, well, it led them to a massive high-stakes decision. This was one of those moments that could either make or break the entire company. It basically set the stage for everything that came next. So they found themselves at a classic fork in the road, with two totally different paths ahead. Path one, that was the safe bet. Just keep going as an AI sales company, build on the customers they already had. It's what most startups are told to do, follow the revenue. But then there was path two, which was way, way riskier. Pivot completely. Become a deep tech AI research lab, leave their early customers behind, and go all in on building foundational models for a much bigger but totally unproven vision. And you can see that turning point so clearly on this timeline. Right after they raised their Series A funding, boom, they hit what they call their crucible moment, and they made the incredibly tough call to pivot. For the next 2 years, they basically went quiet, heads down, just building the core tech. And all of that work is what led to the AI Humans platform they have today. And you gotta understand, this was not an easy call to make. The founders talked about how hard it was to go against all the advice they were getting, to tell their first customers, hey, we're changing direction. They said it felt like you might let someone else down. But at the end of the day, they just had to trust their gut and chase that bigger vision they really believed in. And that incredibly risky pivot, it's what unlocked a massive technological breakthrough. It let them go way beyond just, making a talking face. It allowed them to tackle something way more profound, teaching a machine how to actually see. Because here's the core problem they figured out. Just having a realistic face on a screen isn't enough to make something feel human, not even close. Real communication, it's a two-way street. The AI had to learn to perceive, to actually understand all the tiny nuanced things we do. A raised eyebrow, a slight smile, all the stuff we communicate without even saying a word. The founders have this perfect analogy for it. They say real human conversation is like a waltz. It's this graceful back and forth dance. But most AI, it's stuck doing the robot, stiff, clunky, totally unnatural. So their whole mission became about teaching the machine how to waltz. And this really puts their whole journey into perspective. They went from that old tech, the lip sync infill, which was basically just one-way communication, to this new idea of human simulation. Now the technology combines seeing with talking, so can understand the connection between, say, an eyebrow twitch and the words that were just spoken. It turned a monologue into an actual two-way dance. Now, to make that dance feel real, speed is absolutely everything. A normal back-and-forth chat between two people,
The response time is under 200 milliseconds. Anything slower than that, and our brains immediately notice a lack. It just feels off. So hitting that speed was this huge engineering challenge they had to solve to make the whole thing feel human.
Okay, so where is all this tech actually going? This isn't just some cool research project sitting in a lab. Nope. It's being rolled out as a real product with a really big vision for how we're all going to interact with our computers in the future. They're calling them Tavus pals, and the idea here is pretty profound. Think about how the graphical user interface, icons and a mouse, made computers usable for everyone. They see these AI humans as the next big leap, the thing that moves us away from typing commands into a box and towards having a totally natural conversational relationship with technology. And this isn't just theory. It's already being used in 3 huge areas. You've got big names like Amazon and Alibaba using this tech to build AI trainers, healthcare assistants, even AI sales reps. I mean, just imagine an AI nutrition coach that can actually see you and talk about your progress, or a companion for an elderly person who needs a friendly face to chat with. Of course, when you hear about this, the big question that comes up is, what about jobs? And the company is really clear about this. They say the goal isn't to replace humans. It's to replace the awful, frustrating machines and automated systems we all hate dealing with, and to fill the gaps where, right now, the only alternative is nothing at all.
And this quote just nails that second point perfectly. The alternative isn't a human, it's nothing. Think about something like therapy. Is an AI therapist a perfect replacement for a human? No, of course not. But for the millions and millions of people who have zero access to mental health care, the alternative isn't a human therapist, it's just nothing. And in that case, an 80% solution is way, way better than a 0% solution.
Which leaves us with this one last, kind of mind-bending question to think about. When every single computer you interact with feels like a friend, when your doctor, your teacher, maybe even your personal assistant are all empathetic AI, how is our world really going to change?